Hello everyone, just Goran here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video. Today we are taking a look at the bison, both the European and the American bison. Starting with Blijdorp, where we have an American bison backstage over here. This is a separate holding pen where they can hold the bison while they are cleaning the enclosure, stuff like that, without them having to go inside. We also got this nice little shack thing with some skulls on it, from which we can look at the enclosure. And look at that nice large yard. Here it is in the summer as well, even with a little baby in the middle. But yeah, pretty simple fencing, but a nice large open space for them to roam around in. Here we can see the reason the bison were separate. The keepers were cleaning up the enclosure. But yeah, it's overall a pretty nice enclosure. Look at some greenery in the middle, some rocks, some logs, some things for the bison to do. There's some signage over here about the difference between the American and the European bison. And this is what used to be the only viewing area, because that area we were just standing at is actually only about a year or two old at this point. This used to be the main viewing point and kind of the only viewing point really, except for the fact that you can also see the bison in the back of the prairie dog enclosure, which is pretty cool, if you ask me. Next up we have Monde Sauvage. This is a Belgian zoo, and it has a pretty, once again, simple but a nice large open bison enclosure over here. A lot greener than the one at Blijdorp. The grass actually has managed to survive over here. But yeah, we got a small hot wire running above us. I'm actually pretty sure you're not allowed to get this close up to the fence. The bison were pretty far away, so I figured I could get some nice shots for you guys over here. We can see the bison, yeah, as I said, pretty far away, sitting over there in the distance next to their stalls, their backstage holding. And yeah, they're looking really cool. I love, I mean, you gotta love bison, right? Nice addition to any American area of your zoo. Really cool. And yeah, I'm actually surprised at how little, or like, how weak of a fence is sufficient. Like, just a simple chain link fence with some hot wire on it, of course. But yeah, that's all it needs to contain them, I guess. So yeah, but that's pretty much it over here for Monde Sauvage. Not that much else to look at over here. So let's just move on to the next zoo. And that's going to be Pairi Daiza. And we are in the land of the cold, right across from the raccoons and the skunks. And according to the map, this is where the bisons would be, which would make sense. But there are no bison over here. No, this is actually an elephant enclosure for the Asian elephant. And the bison are behind this kind of tunnel-y thing we can see in the distance. I guess you could see them from, if you like, use those binoculars over there, but yeah, you have to take the train if you want to see the bison. So we can see the elephants on that side, and over here is the bison enclosure. I don't know why it's not the other way around. That would make a lot more sense, being able to see the bison from the land of the gold, which is essentially the North America area. But yeah, this is how it is. So that is pretty much it for Pairi Daiza. Nothing much to look at there either. Bison habitats tend to be pretty simple, as we are starting to learn. So over here we are in Pakawi Park, and there the bison are in a nice forested area, which is pretty neat. Also kind of a North America area in a way. There is Hudson Bay wolf on the other side of this, kind of Arctic wolf kind of things. We'll see them pretty soon as well. There's also bears where we just came from, and then here we have the bison. But that is pretty much as North America as it gets, because we are also right across from the savannah yard over here, as well as, like, if you keep going after the bison, you are greeted by an emu. So not the most coherent of like feeding or like regional placement of animals, but still pretty cool. Nice enclosure, I guess. This is definitely the part of Pakawi that is not like that is the least bad, and I would even say quite nice. The bear enclosure is also really cool. But that's it for Pakawi. We are almost wrapping up the American bison over here in Planckendael. Probably the nicest of the American bison enclosures by far. You can see more of it in the real life zoo tour of Planckendael. But they are here in a nice shared enclosure with the Rocky Mountain wapiti. Once again, pretty simple fencing, pretty cool viewing areas. Like over here you can get up into this kind of bird nest thing when kids are not cutting you off. And here you get a nice elevated view of the entire yard. The backstage in the back there, nicely hidden by some plants. And yeah, pretty nice large enclosure. But the coolest thing about it by far is these viewing areas over here, which are inside of these Native American tents, these teepees. So you can go inside of the teepee, and from the teepee you get this really, really cool view of the bison. This one's probably my favorite. I think in the zoo tour I said the other one, but Eben has convinced me because this one just frames the bison in such a cool way. I was really lucky to have them actually standing here when I was there. But yeah, this just looks super, super cool, and it's such a unique way to view these animals. And then there is a second teepee over here as well, and from here you also get a nice look at them. And then there's some decorations and some trash in here as well, but most importantly a nice window from which you can view the bison, and they can actually get really close to you over here. So that's why I also like this viewing area a lot. You can be really close and personal with these bison, while still being safe, of course. Then there's one more viewing area of Planckendael. There's actually more that you can see the bison from the Africa area as well, but I'm leaving that out for now. You got this nice little viewing area next to the lake, where sometimes the bison will actually go for a swim, or at least for a bath. This one, on the other hand, was a little bit itchy and was scratching off its excess winter fur. Yeah, that is it for Planckendael. Really nice enclosure. Really like this one a lot. Definitely my favorite of the ones in this video. But anyway, that is it for Planckendael. So let's move to the next zoo. Or well, not 100% a zoo. This is the Zonnegloed. If you might remember from earlier videos, this was in. And this is an animal sanctuary. So this is not really a zoo. It's a place that takes in animals that are either mistreated or otherwise unwanted. And in the case of these bison, according to the signage around here, these were from a European zoo, not specified which, and they were no longer desired there for whatever reason. So the Zonnegloed took them in, and they are happy to have done so, because otherwise they probably would have been euthanized or something like that. So yeah, it's really nice that this park is able to take them in and give them a nice place where they can live out the rest of their lives. So yeah, over here we can see what that all looks like. They've got some nice scratching pillars, and this is a little separate holding area, but they've got a larger enclosure as well, and you can walk all the way around it and explore a little bit. So yeah, it's a nice sturdy wooden fence. Looks pretty cool, and it has a little moat going around the sides as well. Not really sure if that's on purpose or it's just collected rainwater or something. But yeah, it's it's nice. I keep repeating myself. That's my go-to thing when I'm running out of things to say today. Here you can see that moat a little bit better. There's some nice separated areas of greenery to give the enclosure some lushness. So there's actually some amount of effort put into these. Yeah, it's interesting because it's a sanctuary. They just want to give these animals a place to live, make it a little bit nice. I guess the greenery is also nice for the animals, but in general, stuff like that is to make it more appealing to the visitors, right? Which is not the top priority of a place like this. But it's nice that there is still some degree of decoration in here. But yeah, we're gonna move along, get one more view of the separation holding area. There's actually multiple separation areas, as we can see over here, kind of 3 different pens, 2 holding areas and the main pen. But that's it for Zonnegloed. Now we are in Parc Animalier de Bouillon, or Bouillon, or whatever you want, Eben. I don't even know anymore. Even is constantly complaining that I'm mispronouncing Belgian zoo names, especially the French ones. So, you know what? I'm either right or I'm not. It's true or false. Bouillon, you know. That was a bad joke, but I hope Eben appreciates it. Anyway, this is the separation area. This one of Bouillon, or no, I'm just gonna say it. So once again, we see a separation area over here, and that's where the bison are currently hanging out. You can actually get really close to them, which is cool, I guess. Bit freaky, but not the freakiest we'll see in this video. Hello, you are very beautiful. But they also have a larger main enclosure, much like other things we've seen from Bouillon. There is, we are kind of above the enclosure looking down. Not my favorite, I prefer the other way around when you're looking up the hill. But yeah, it is a pretty nice enclosure. Here we can see from a bit later in the day when the bison were actually out standing in their field. I'm just talking in puns today, I don't know what's happening. But yeah, here we can see them kind of just hanging out there. And that's it for this enclosure in Bouillon. But Bouillon also has Wisent, or the European bison. So yeah, here we can see the European bison enclosure. I don't like this one in particular. It's even worse than the other one, where you're looking down from this hill and you have to look through this shelter thing to actually see the enclosure. I think it's really strange. I don't like it. But that is the European bison enclosure. Planckendael, which we saw earlier, also has European bison in their Asia area. Don't ask, I don't know either. But yeah, we can see them over here grazing on some hay, and they've got kind of multiple compartments to their enclosure. So this is in the winter, we can see this middle part, and we can see their backstage a bit. Here we can see more of that in the summer as well. I love how lush the visitor side is over here, the enclosure less so. And yeah, they're adjacent to the camels as well, and I'm just gonna show you a little bit of that so you can see those fences a bit better. Very old fencing, probably. I don't even know how old, but that was Planckendael. Here we have the caves of Hann, and you leave this zoo on a train, and from this train ride we can see this valley over here, which is a bison enclosure. Actually, we see the European bison over there, joined by some deer. I'm not sure how far this enclosure stretches. I think it's absolutely huge, but yeah, it's a nice way to leave the zoo, I guess. I think if you're taking the car ride, there is like a safari bus type thing. I think if you take that, you'll probably be driving on that road down here, getting a slightly closer look, but you still get to see them really nice from the train over here. So that's really, really cool. So, ready for the last zoo. We are in Natuurpark Lelystad, which is, as the name suggests, a nature park. Not really a zoo, but basically just a large bit of nature. Kind of. It's in Flevoland, which is a part of the Netherlands which is completely man-made. So the definition of nature is a bit stretched here, in a way. But, I mean, it's been here for a while, it's nature. Anyway, big stretch of nature that has kind of got areas sectioned off, and they threw a bunch of animals in there, like Pierre David's deer, other deer, mouflons, wild boars. There's a part with Eurasian otters, and what we're looking at right now is a huge area for the European bison, or the Wisent. So we can see them there chilling in the grass, and I'm cutting this up a lot because this place is absolutely huge. It took me like more than half an hour to walk around it. Yeah, it's ridiculous just how big this is. But we did get some cool views of the bison from the many viewing points that are there. But I mentioned earlier in this video about getting close to bison, and well, I did not get close to these bison per se. What we will see as we walk over here is there's a sign saying, "Careful, stay with," at least 50 meters from the bison, and then there's this little pole over here, and there's a bison statue back there to show you what 50 meters is. Now, why do we need to be taught what 50 meters is? Well, after we visit this other viewing point, which is kind of a dead end and you have to walk back, we are actually going to be going inside of the enclosure. This is a walk-through bison enclosure. What? I was not... I felt a little bit uneasy going through this, I will admit, but yeah, here we are. Lots of signs telling you to stay those 50 meters away. No dogs allowed in here, for sure. And yeah, a lot of things like, if you spot a bison on your path, turn around, don't approach, stay the hell away. Why is this a thing? just make a bridge. That's the worst part. There is no shortcut. Like, if you're at this point, you either go through or you go back like 1 or 2 kilometers. So, yeah, you're pretty much committed at this point. I was tired. I had to go. There was we can see in the distance, there's also Przewalski wild horses in this enclosure. So yeah, I may not have encountered a bison on my path, but there was a horse like right next to the path. And I stood there for about 20 minutes. And I only went past it after 2 other families did the same. So yeah, I was not comfortable doing it, but I wanted to go home. And yeah, here we can see the bison statue thing. I really like that to showcase it. It works really well. But that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the bison, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!